Hear this eternal decree. The mind that reacts is a slave, but the mind that responds is a ruler. The one who reacts is tossed like a leaf in the storm of circumstance, but the one who responds stands like a pillar upon the rock of divine law. I say unto you, you were not born to be driven by the winds of emotion. You were fashioned by the Almighty to command your world through conscious response. The universe moves by law, not by accident. Vibration answers vibration. Thought answers thought, and the soul that aligns itself with divine order becomes irresistible. When you react, you surrender your throne to outer noise. When you respond, you declare your authority under heaven's government. Say aloud, I am governed by divine law, not by human fear. I respond in wisdom, I do not react in confusion. The world has taught you to react, to panic at loss, to tremble at insult, to chase after money as though it were fleeing from you. But the divine law declares, be still and know that I am. In the stillness of response, your word is seed. In the frenzy of reaction, your seed is scattered on the winds. You must train the mind as a soldier is trained, to stand at attention before truth, not to leap at every shadow of appearance. The undisciplined mind spends its inheritance on every passing emotion. The disciplined mind invests its power in vision, faith, and decree. Declare, I am not moved by appearances. I am moved only by divine order. I am the ruler of my own vibration. The wealth you seek does not come to the restless, but to the steadfast. The abundance you desire does not bow to the fearful, but to the unwavering decree of faith. Every reaction to fear lowers your vibration. Every response in faith raises your field into divine alignment. Hear this and let it pierce your spirit. God's wealth is not attracted by need, it is attracted by recognition. You cannot recognize it while reacting to lack. You can only recognize it when you respond with the knowing that all supply is already present in the infinite. Speak this now. I align with the vibration of abundance. I respond to all situations as one already supplied, already provided for, already victorious. You are not here to be ruled by anger, by doubt, or by the threats of circumstance. You are here to speak divine order into the chaos of the visible world. You are the mouthpiece of law, the vessel of decree. Reaction says, I am a victim of the scene. Response says, I command the unseen to bring forth the seen. Say it again until your soul believes, I do not react. I respond. I decree, I command, I create. When you train your mind to respond, your words become seed sown in fertile soil. They germinate in the silence of faith and emerge as manifested wealth, radiant health, and unshakable peace. The one who responds is no longer a beggar at the gate of circumstance, but an heir of the kingdom, distributing the abundance of divine inheritance. This is your moment of awakening. The old self that reacted to every insult, every lack, every storm, let it die today. The new self that responds with the authority of heaven, let it rise and take its rightful place. Hear this word of decree. The mind that is not governed by the Spirit is a city without walls, open to every invader, tossed by every storm. But the mind brought under the law of divine government becomes a throne of power, a stronghold of light, unshaken by the trembling of the world. The law of divine government declares that your mind was never given to be driven by fear, by anger, by the voices of men, but to be ruled by the eternal word of God. The mind is not the master, it is the servant. It is the instrument by which the Spirit issues decrees into the visible realm. When the servant rises against the master, confusion reigns. But when the mind bows to divine order, the Spirit speaks and the world obeys. Say aloud, I bring my mind under the government of the Most High. I am not the captive of thought. I am the ruler of thought through the Spirit of truth. This is not a suggestion but a commandment for those who would reign in life. You cannot be double-minded and expect single-minded power. You cannot serve both fear and faith, both lack and abundance, both reaction and response. You must enthrone the Spirit as ruler, and bring every thought into obedience to that rule. The law of divine government is the law of order. The universe itself is built upon it. The stars keep their courses by it. The seasons obey it. The atom yields to it. And you, created in the image of the Creator, were designed to govern your own inner kingdom by it. Every thought that contradicts divine law is a trespasser and must be cast out. Every feeling that opposes divine decree is an intruder and must be silenced. For as long as the mind is governed by appearances, it will bow to fear, but once it is governed by truth, it commands the seen by the unseen. Declare, my mind is no longer a battlefield, it is a sanctuary of divine law. I do not allow fear to write its decrees upon my heart. I write the decrees of faith, of supply, of health, of dominion. The moment you recognize this law, the moment you surrender the throne to divine government, you cease to be a victim of circumstance. You cease to be tossed by the storms of the world. You stand as one appointed by heaven to bring heaven's order to the earth. Understand this mystery. Reaction is the rebellion of the undisciplined mind. Response is the obedience of the governed mind. Reaction is the cry of the servant who has seized the scepter. Response is the word of the ruler who sits secure on the throne. Reaction depletes your energy, scatters your seed, breaks your focus. Response gathers your power, directs your seed, and manifests your decree. To live in reaction is to live as a subject of chaos. To live in response is to live as a legislator of the kingdom. Say it again and again, until it becomes the vibration of your being. I am governed by divine law. I do not yield to panic. I do not surrender to appearances. I respond in wisdom, in faith, in order, in power. For as the law governs your mind governs your words govern your vibration, and your vibration governs the conditions of your life. What you think becomes what you say becomes what you expect becomes what you experience. The enemy of your progress is not the outer world, but the inner insurrection of thoughts that deny divine order. Cast them down, command them to bow to truth. Speak as one who legislates. Every wandering thought is brought into obedience to Christ within me. Every fearful imagination is dissolved. Every rebellious desire is replaced with the will of God. This is how the law of divine government over the mind is enforced, by the continual decree of faith, by the steadfast refusal to let the servant rule the master. You were never meant to be a reed shaken by the wind. You were called to be an oak rooted by the river of life. You were never designed to drift with the tide of opinion. You were chosen to command the waves with a word. Train the mind as a soldier is trained, to hear the voice of the commander and to move only at his word. Every morning, as you awaken, speak, I bring this mind into alignment with divine law. I will not think as the world thinks. I will think as the word thinks. This is the key that transforms reaction into response, confusion into clarity, weakness into authority. Let this revelation settle deep. The government of the mind by divine law is not bondage, it is liberty. It frees you from the tyranny of moods, from the chains of old beliefs, from the dictates of fear and lack. It makes you a free citizen of the kingdom, a steward of abundance, a channel of divine ideas. When your mind is governed, your life is ordered. When your life is ordered, your path prospers. When your path prospers, the kingdom expands. Now speak this final decree. My mind is a temple, not a marketplace. My thoughts are instruments of decree, not toys of reaction. I am under divine government, and therefore I am at peace. I am in power. I am in possession of the promise. As you train your mind to remain under this law, you will see storms pass without shaking you, see opportunities appear where there was once only lack, see doors open because your vibration commands it. This is the law of divine government over the mind. The mind ruled by the Spirit rules the world. Hear this decree. Before the greatest acts of power, there is always stillness. Creation itself began in the hush before the word was spoken. The seas stood calm before they parted. The dawn waits in silence before it bursts into light. So it is with your life. The soul that has not learned stillness before action will always react to appearances, but the one who dwells in stillness commands creation. I tell you today, until you have mastered the power of the pause, your words scatter like chaff in the wind, but when your word rises from the deep well of stillness, it becomes like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces. Say aloud, I enter the holy stillness before I decree. I wait upon divine instruction before I act. The world will try to drive you to hurry, to rush, to fear that you will miss your chance. But the law of spirit is not haste, it is order. The hasty mind reacts, the centered mind responds. The man or woman who acts without stillness acts without alignment. Their work bears the mark of anxiety, not authority. But the one who pauses in holy quiet before moving, who listens before speaking, who centers before deciding, such a one acts as the mouthpiece of divine decree. The power you seek is not born in the storm of striving, it is born in the silence where God speaks. Reaction rises from panic. Response rises from poise. The mind trained in stillness no longer leaps at every shadow, no longer trembles at every threat. It has learned that the universe bends to the word that is uttered from the depths of rest in divine order. You must remember, noise is the weapon of the world, but silence is the sanctuary of power. Declare, I do not move in haste, I move in rhythm with divine timing. I do not speak to fill the air, I speak to fulfill the law. I do not run to meet opportunity. Opportunity finds me in my place of stillness. For what the world calls delay, heaven calls preparation. What the world calls waiting, heaven calls gestation. Every great oak was once a silent seed in the dark soil. Every great decree is first a silent word in the deep of the spirit. To leap before the seed is ready is to break the promise of the harvest. The spirit cannot be heard in the uproar of panic, but in the quiet surrender of a still heart. The wise soul knows that the stillness before action is not inactivity, it is the most active force in the unseen. It is in stillness that faith takes root, vision takes form, and instruction is received. It is in stillness that the vibration of your being is raised to meet the frequency of your desire. You cannot command wealth from a place of hurry. You cannot decree healing from a place of fear. You must first be still and know the source. Then the word that leaves your lips is clothed in authority. Say again, I am still before I act. I am quiet before I speak. I move only when moved by the Spirit. This declaration disciplines the restless mind and trains it to wait in power. The river does not rush in panic, yet it carves valleys and moves mountains. The sun does not hurry across the sky, yet it governs seasons and calls forth life. So must you learn to align with the calm force of divine order. The untrained soul mistakes motion for progress and noise for influence. The disciplined soul knows that the true cause is invisible, and the visible is but its effect. When you cultivate stillness, you are shaping the unseen cause, and action becomes only the natural fruit. To speak from stillness is to speak with a voice that carries the vibration of heaven. To act from stillness is to act as one under divine commission. The world senses that vibration and yields. Do not imagine that stillness is weakness. It is the stance of the warrior before the strike. It is the breath before the arrow is released. It is the gathering of infinite strength in the instant before it bursts into creation. The soul that is not still is scattered. The soul that is still is focused as a laser, unerring in its aim. You have been trained by the world to confuse urgency with authority, noise with power, reaction with effectiveness. Today I declare, break that spell, return to the sacred silence, command your mind to be still and listen. Proclaim this truth, I will not be moved by appearances. I will not be stampeded by fear. I will not be seduced by haste. I will wait upon divine wisdom, and when I move, my movement shall be as the word of the King. In that stillness, fear falls away. In that stillness, lack dissolves. In that stillness, new strength and strategy arise. The one who learns to be still before acting learns to move in step with divine timing, and timing is the key to every door. Now let this word seal in your heart. The power of stillness before action is the secret to commanding the outer world. For the mind at rest in divine order cannot be shaken by storms. The heart anchored in silence cannot be robbed of its peace. The tongue trained in quietness speaks as an oracle, not as an echo. This is the way of the awakened soul, to pause before it proceeds, to listen before it commands, to receive before it releases. The world may rush past in noise and confusion, but you shall be as a rock in the river, unmoved, until the Spirit says, now speak, now move, now act. And when you act from that stillness, all of heaven moves with you. Hear this living decree, all that you see is but the echo of vibration. Every mountain and every grain of sand, Every fortune and every famine, every healing and every disease, each is the offspring of a tone, a frequency, a vibration. The invisible vibration is the parent, the visible form is the child. So long as you try to change the child without changing the parent, your labor is in vain. But the moment you alter the vibration, the manifestation must obey, for it is bound to the law of its source. This is the unchanging principle. As the vibration, so the manifestation. Say aloud, I align my vibration with divine supply, with divine health, with divine order. I will not speak lack and expect abundance. I will not vibrate fear and expect peace. The universe is not moved by your need, but by your signal. You draw not what you beg for, but what you broadcast. The field of life responds to the tone you continually send forth, whether of faith or of doubt, of harmony or of discord. Many pray for wealth while vibrating poverty. Many pray for healing while vibrating fear. Many cry for opportunity while vibrating resistance. Such prayers rise as empty words, for the law of vibration will not be mocked. I declare to you, your vibration is your decree. The tone of your thought, the rhythm of your word, the atmosphere of your feeling, all combine to summon form from the unseen. You cannot speak abundance while vibrating resentment, and expect the gates of wealth to open. You cannot sing of faith while vibrating hidden panic, and expect the mountains to move. The universe listens beneath your words. It hears the song of your heart, the signal of your spirit. Therefore, the first commandment for the one who would manifest the promise is this: attune your vibration to the reality you seek. Declare again, I refuse to vibrate at the level of reaction. I ascend to the vibration of response, of divine order, of unshakable faith. Reaction is a low, jagged tone that scatters your power. Response is a clear and steady tone that gathers it. Reaction comes from the outer world and lowers your field to match the noise of appearances. Response comes from the inner spirit and raises your field to the pitch of heaven's decree. To change your manifestation, you must change your pitch. The law is not partial. It will always echo back what you send forth. You have been deceived by appearances into thinking that matter governs vibration, but I tell you the opposite. Vibration governs matter. The unseen tone creates the seen form. The body obeys the vibration of the mind. The affairs of your life obey the vibration of your expectation. Even your relationships rise or fall to the note you hold. You are not a beggar at the door of fate. You are the tuning fork of the kingdom. If your tone is clear, the universe resounds in harmony. If your tone is divided, your world becomes confused. Speak this now with authority. I cleanse my vibration of fear, resentment, and doubt. I tune my whole being to the frequency of divine abundance, divine peace, divine strength. Each declaration is a key struck upon the harp of the unseen, and the song that rises summons form to its melody. You are not merely a thinker of thoughts, but a broadcaster of tones. You do not merely hope for blessing, you resonate blessing. You do not merely wish for provision, you vibrate provision. And the law is certain, that which harmonizes with your vibration must appear in your world. The vibration of lack repels supply. The vibration of gratitude attracts it. The vibration of anxiety closes the gates of opportunity. The vibration of calm assurance opens them wide. The vibration of anger clouds the vision. The vibration of forgiveness clears the channel for new good. Therefore, the work of the soul is not first to chase conditions but to cultivate the inner tone. When the vibration is right, the form follows as faithfully as a shadow follows the body. Say again until it echoes in your marrow, I am a vessel of divine vibration. I do not vibrate to the storms of the outer world. I vibrate to the eternal harmony of spirit. My vibration calls forth health, wealth, favor, and peace. As you persist in this decree, the vibration begins to reshape the invisible substance of your affairs. Doors that were shut swing open because they are drawn to the new tone you carry. People and resources appear because they resonate with your field. The outer world is not resisting you, it is merely mirroring you. Hear and never forget, change the vibration, and you will change the manifestation. As long as you cling to the vibration of fear, you will see the fruit of fear. As soon as you anchor in the vibration of faith, you will see the fruit of faith. The law has no favorites. It simply reproduces the seed you plant in the invisible through your tone, your feeling, your expectation. Now let this be your final declaration. I rise above the vibration of reaction and align with the vibration of divine creation. I decree by my tone that I am prosperous, I am whole, I am unafraid. The law hears my vibration and hastens to manifest its echo in my world. When you live by this principle, you no longer plead with life to give you what you seek, you command it by the vibration you sustain. This is the great revelation. The tone you keep is the life you create. Hear this trumpet of truth. The word you speak is not meant to be a faint echo of the world around you. It is meant to be a royal decree that shapes the world before you. Too long have you allowed your lips to repeat the fears, the complaints, the doubts that circulate in the air. Too long have you echoed the reports of lack, of sickness, of defeat. But you were not created to echo appearances. You were created to command realities. The law of the Spirit declares, the tongue of the awakened soul is a scepter. The spoken word is a key that unlocks the invisible storehouses of supply. As long as you speak as an echo, you live as a shadow. But when you speak as a decree, you rule as one seated in authority. Say aloud, my words are not idle sounds, they are decrees of power. I do not repeat the news of the world, I proclaim the law of heaven. Every decree released in faith vibrates with creative force. It summons substance from the unseen. It charges the atmosphere with new order. It reshapes what men call reality. The echo merely mirrors what is, the decree commands what shall be. The echo bends to circumstance. The decree bends circumstance to itself. The echo reacts. The decree responds with dominion. You must understand this holy mystery. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was not an echo. The universe itself came forth by decree, let there be light, and there was light. The Spirit did not echo the darkness, it issued a command that birthed illumination. So too must you learn to speak, not to describe the void, but to summon the form, not to rehearse the problem, but to release the answer. Your word is seed. When spoken as a decree, it is sown in the soil of divine law and will bring forth after its kind. When uttered as an echo, it scatters on barren ground and bears nothing but frustration. Declare again, I refuse to echo the voice of fear. I decree the voice of faith. I do not parrot the conditions of lack. I announce the abundance of the kingdom. Every time you speak in harmony with appearances, you strengthen their hold. Every time you speak in harmony with divine law, you loosen their grip and summon higher order. The echo waits for the world to speak first. The decree speaks first and the world follows. You have been given authority, yet many live as though they are under the tyranny of circumstance because their lips betray them. They declare what they see instead of what they know by the Spirit. They echo their pain instead of decreeing their healing. They echo the fear of the crowd instead of decreeing the security of the covenant. I say unto you, change your words and you will change your world. Stop giving your tongue to gossip, to complaint, to doom. Place it again upon the altar of decree, and let it speak as an oracle of life. Speak this even now with holy boldness. I am not an echo, I am a decree. I command peace to my mind, provision to my path, and order to my affairs. I decree that all that belongs to me by divine right is now released. The world will resist for a moment, but the law cannot. The law responds to decree. The invisible substance begins to align, the vibration begins to shift, the forms of life begin to reorganize themselves to match the word that has gone forth in faith. Understand, the decree is not vain wishing. It is the utterance of authority that stands in the unseen before the throne of truth. It does not beg, it commands. It does not ask the shadows to move, it speaks the light that dissolves them. It does not echo sickness, it decrees wholeness. It does not echo debt, it decrees supply. And heaven and earth shall pass away, but the decree made in faith shall not pass away until it accomplishes that which it was sent to do. Say again until your heart believes, my mouth is not a mirror, it is a sword. My word is not a reaction, it is an action. I speak not what I see, but what I am sent to create. This discipline will separate you from the fearful, for the fearful always echo the loudest noise. but the faithful decree from the silence of authority, and creation bows to their voice. You are not called to be a mere commentator of events. You are called to be a legislator of destiny. Your word, spoken in alignment with divine law, writes the unseen legislation to which the seen must comply. The echo lives in bondage to the moment. The decree lives in mastery over the moment. Therefore, guard your speech. Refuse to lend your lips to complaint. Refuse to repeat what appearance suggests. Speak as one who sits with Christ in heavenly places. Let your every declaration carry the ring of command. Now seal this revelation with your final decree. My word is not an echo of fear or doubt. My word is the decree of spirit. I speak from the throne within. I summon order. I summon wealth. I summon peace. I summon health. I decree the will of God in my life. And it is so. As you persist in this holy discipline, the world around you will bend to the sound you release. The mountains of resistance will crumble. The valleys of lack will be filled. The crooked paths of confusion will be made straight. For the decree is not an empty sound. It is the vibration of divine authority clothed in your voice. Hear this solemn and triumphant word. You were not born to crawl in the dust as a victim of chance. You were fashioned in the image of the Almighty to reign as a ruler over thought, over word, over vibration, over the circumstances that once oppressed you. The illusion of victimhood is the great lie that chains the sons and daughters of God. For as long as you believe yourself to be subject to fate, to economy, to the words of others, you forfeit the throne of authority entrusted to you. The law of the Spirit declares, as a man thinks himself to be, so is he. Therefore, when you call yourself weak, you invite weakness. When you confess yourself helpless, you draw the chains tighter. But when you stand and declare, I am a ruler under divine government, I am not the prey of circumstance, I am the commander of my world, then all creation begins to adjust itself to your decree. Say aloud with force, I renounce the identity of a victim. I take hold of my divine inheritance as a ruler. I rise to speak, and the unseen obeys. For too long you have echoed the laments of the crowd. I cannot. I have no choice. The world is against me. But the voice of heaven thunders back. You are not at the mercy of the seen, you are the legislator of the unseen. The moment you awaken to this truth, the prison doors of self-pity swing open, and the chains of fear fall clattering to the ground. You step forth in the dignity of your true estate, knowing that nothing external can enslave the soul that rules from within. Understand this holy principle. Victimhood is a vibration of surrender. Rulership is a vibration of command. Life answers to your vibration. If you vibrate as the oppressed, you attract oppressors. If you vibrate as the empowered, you attract opportunities. The shift begins not in outer events, but in inner identity. Many strive to change their conditions while clinging to the belief that they are at the mercy of those very conditions. They try to climb the mountain while fastening a weight of defeat upon their shoulders. But the ruler does not beg the mountain to move. The ruler decrees, and the mountain obeys. Declare again until the words burn in your spirit. I am not a victim of appearances. I am the heir of divine dominion. I hold the scepter of my thought, the key of my word, the command of my vibration. You will never reign over your outer world until you first claim authority over your inner one. The ruler governs thought before governing events. The ruler disciplines the tongue to speak decree, not complaint. The ruler fixes the gaze not on what is lost, but on what is promised. The ruler walks through storms with the calm of one who knows the tempest must bow to the higher law. The world has taught you to measure your identity by wounds and losses, but heaven declares that your true name is not written in the story of your pain but in the decree of your purpose. When you call yourself victim, you call forth sympathy, but not victory. When you call yourself ruler, you summon favor, strategy, and strength. The ruler knows that no insult can define them. No setback can dethrone them. No delay can deny them, for they live not as a reed shaken by the wind, but as an oak rooted by the river of divine supply. Speak this now in the authority of revelation. I rise to my rightful place. I am the steward of my thoughts, the governor of my words. the legislator of my destiny. I will not react as prey, I will respond as prince and priest of divine order. The outer world may test you, but it cannot overthrow the one who has claimed the inner throne. The storms may roar, but the ruler knows that the decree of peace stills the waters. The threats may come, but the ruler knows that the covenant cannot be broken. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not boasting in flesh but standing in the authority of the Spirit. The ruler bows only to the supreme law and therefore bows to nothing else. The ruler does not depend upon the mercy of man but upon the faithfulness of divine principle. When you embrace this identity, you cease to plead with life and begin to govern life. You cease to beg for opportunities and begin to attract them. You cease to tremble at scarcity and begin to call forth abundance. Now say this final decree and let it seal your transformation. I cast off the garment of the victim. I clothe myself in the mantle of the ruler. I do not ask for pity, I release power. I do not cry for rescue, I rise in authority. I am appointed by divine law to reign over my thoughts, my words, my vibration, and therefore over my life. I decree abundance, I decree health, I decree peace. And it is established. When you live in this consciousness, you cease to be driven by the tides of chance and become the captain of your ship. You steer by the compass of divine order, and the winds of circumstance become your servants. The victim waits for conditions to change, the ruler changes conditions by the decree of faith. This is the holy inheritance of every soul awakened to truth, to know that you are not a beggar at the gates of destiny, but a ruler in the house of the living God. Hear this blazing word of revelation. Abundance is not unlocked by reaction born of fear, nor by striving born of doubt, but by the faithful response that aligns with the unchanging law of spirit. Too long have you believed that outer events hold the key to your supply. Too long have you rushed at opportunity in panic, or shrank back from challenges in despair. But the vault of divine abundance does not open to frantic hands or trembling hearts. It opens to the steady voice of the soul that responds to every circumstance with faith. The law of the Spirit declares, "Be it unto you according to your faith." Therefore, the quality of your response determines the quality of your results. Say aloud with authority, "I respond in faith, I do not react in fear. I move in obedience to divine wisdom, and abundance hastens to meet me." The faithful response is not passive waiting, it is decisive alignment. It is the choice to hear the still small voice within, rather than the clamor of appearances. Reaction is a child of panic, hurling words like stones at shadows, squandering energy in confusion. Faithful response is the calm captain, who, in the midst of the storm, waits for the signal of spirit, and then speaks the word that stills the sea. Understand this truth. Every moment brings a command, an opportunity, a challenge, a call to act or to refrain. The one who responds in faith turns each moment into a gate to greater supply. The one who reacts in fear turns each moment into a wall that blocks the blessing. Life is continually asking you, whom will you trust? Your answer is given not by your lips, but by your vibration. The faithful response radiates the tone of expectancy and gratitude. The fearful reaction vibrates with lack and resistance. The law reproduces the vibration you keep. Declare again until your soul believes it. My faithful response opens the storehouses of heaven. I will not waste my energy resisting appearances. I respond with confidence in divine law, and the law responds to me with increase. For the Spirit cannot pour new wine into a vessel filled with agitation. The anxious heart spills what it is given, but the steadfast heart gathers and multiplies. This is why many strive without rest and yet remain in lack. Their actions are the fruit of reaction, not of faithful response. You must see this principle in every story of provision. The oil that filled the widow's jars, the loaves and fishes that multiplied in the wilderness, the nets that broke under the weight of the catch, all were released when a faithful response met a divine instruction. The law of abundance is already in operation. It is your response to it that determines whether you will see its manifestation. Every faithful response is a door opening. Every fearful reaction is a door shutting. Speak this now with bold conviction. I respond to every need with the knowing that supply already exists. I respond to every challenge as one already victorious. I respond to every delay as one who trusts the perfect timing of divine order. Such a response does not plead or panic, it positions you to receive. It adjusts your vibration to the frequency of the answer. The faithful response is not a feeling you hope to find, it is a decision you choose to make. You choose to say, I will not fear, I will not rush, I will not complain. I will respond in the authority of faith. Reaction shrinks your world, faithful response enlarges it. Reaction spends energy on appearances. Faithful response invests energy in decree. Reaction closes the hand. Faithful response opens it to receive. Reaction attracts confusion. Faithful response attracts guidance, favor, and provision. To respond faithfully is to prove that you believe in the invisible supply, more than in the visible lack. Say it again, my faithful response to every appearance of lack is gratitude for unseen abundance. My faithful response to every challenge is a decree of victory. My faithful response to every threat is peace. As you keep this response, the vibration of your being rises. It harmonizes with the very field of abundance. The things that once seemed far off begin to draw near. Resources, ideas, people, and opportunities that seemed hidden begin to show themselves. Doors that were shut swing open because your vibration now matches the key that unlocks them. The faithful response is the proof of your identity as a ruler under divine government. It is the stance of the one who knows that the outer world must ultimately obey the word that goes forth in faith. It is the posture of the soul that has learned to stand still and see the salvation of God. It is not noise, it is command. It is not agitation, it is authority clothed in peace. Now seal this word in your heart with a final decree. I live in faithful response. I respond to the promise, not to the problem. I respond to the vision, not to the void. I respond to divine instruction, and abundance responds to me. I decree increase. I decree open doors. I decree multiplied good, and it is established. As you train yourself in this discipline, your reactions will fade and your responses will grow strong. You will find that you are no longer driven by the tides of events, but guided by the current of spirit. The same world that once seemed hostile will begin to serve you, because you have changed your vibration by changing your response. And you will know by experience that faithful response indeed unlocks abundance. Hear this final decree. You are not sent to this earth to be tossed by the winds of chance, but to command the winds by the word of faith. You are not created to live at the mercy of conditions, but to bring conditions into obedience to divine law. The time of wandering between doubt and belief is over. The time of divided allegiance is ended. Stand now as one who knows the authority of the spoken word, the sanctity of faithful response, the unshakable truth that vibration determines manifestation. Say it aloud, as one issuing a decree, not as one making a plea. I am governed by divine law. I vibrate with abundance, peace, and power. I speak as a ruler, not as a victim. I respond in faith, and abundance hastens to meet me. I command my world into divine order, and it obeys. Know this, the moment you align thought, word, and vibration with the divine pattern, the outer world cannot resist your decree. It must conform. For the law of spirit is steadfast. It answers not to panic but to principle, not to reaction but to response. Your task is not to beg but to believe, not to plead but to proclaim. As you do so, you will feel the weight of struggle fall away and the flow of supply surge toward you. Now rise in the consciousness of your true identity. Walk as one already blessed, speak as one already supplied, respond as one already victorious. Do not return to the language of fear or the posture of lack. Cast it off as an old garment that no longer fits your soul. The season of delay is past. The hour of demonstration is at hand. Declare it one final time, with all the authority of heaven behind your voice. I am aligned with the divine government of my mind. I keep my vibration high. I speak the word as decree, not as echo. I stand as a ruler under God's law. I respond faithfully, and the gates of abundance swing wide before me. It is done. It is established. It is manifest.